All right, college football. Good weekend for that. And, pretty much the game of the week was almost like it seemed like every game was a game in the week. But we'll start off in college football with the game that got the most coverage probably, and that was Penn State and Ohio State. Two of the best teams in the country. I believe at the time it was number 2 versus like number 6 or number 7. And Ohio State stormed back at the very end and won that game. Great game by Penn State, just a better game by J.T. Barrett and the Ohio State Buckeyes. And this should push Barrett much higher up on the list there when it comes to the Heisman Trophy. Next up on the list was a game that wasn't so close. And maybe the best team in the country was involved, and that might be the Georgia Bulldogs. They should get votes for number 1. Not sure if they will over Alabama, but I haven't seen anybody in college football play better than UGA the last handful of weeks. They've just been so dominant on all phases. Next game that came up, and speaking of UGA, is their former coach. Mark Richt has the University of Miami undefeated, doing pretty special stuff. They beat North Carolina. North Carolina had every intention, obviously, of upsetting Miami. Miami wasn't having it. And give them credit. Are they dominant? No. I personally think they're the second best team in the state of Florida. I think UCF is better than Miami, but I'm sure I'm quite alone in that opinion outside of Orlando and on campus at UCF. Next up on the list is a team that was number 1, number 2 for a while, and that's Clemson playing Georgia Tech. Driving rainstorm, mistakes, a little sloppy, but Tech clearly was not up to the challenge of Clemson. And to me, Clemson is right there at the edge of back into the top 4 when you talk about the playoff and everything else. And those polls will be kicking in here pretty quick, and we'll see what the people whose opinions matter think of where the Clemson Tigers are. But right now I'd put them number 5 in the country. And the last game was maybe the best one from an excitement and big play standpoint. And I know Ohio State, Penn State, yeah, settle down. But Oklahoma State and West Virginia. At West Virginia, for a good while this was close and it was back and forth. Some huge plays. What a joy this was to watch. This game was right there to me with the Ohio State Penn State game. Oklahoma State has Bedlam coming up this week against Oklahoma, which could solve a lot of issues when it comes to the Big 12. In fact, it will solve a lot of issues when it comes to the Big 12. Let's go over to the NFL side and have a look at some of the stuff. And these are games selected, honestly, solely by me and producer Andrew and Ray. We just kind of go through a list, and these are the ones we just decided to go with. So, you don't like it? So what? On the NFL side, the Falcons almost found a way to lose their 3rd game in a row, but they found a way to win 25-20. It was rainy. It was crappy in New York, and Atlanta found a way to come home with a win. Not sure they would have recovered if they'd have done this again, but they did win. And they do get a chance to snap that losing streak, and it's a good thing. And hopefully it's something they can use going forward. And for those of you that don't think there's a hangover from taking a gigantic dump on worldwide television in the Super Bowl at 28-3, and that doesn't go over into the next year in the back of your mind, you're crazy. All right, next game up NFL-wise was that London game. And why we had to subject the international crowd to this joy, the Minnesota Vikings and the Browns, I got no idea, but I guess everybody gets a trophy and everybody gets a chance to go to London. So the Browns have had their chance to go to London, and they got their butts kicked again. But there was a great crowd, and I'm sure they sold a lot of concessions and lots of hats and lots of jerseys and everything else, and that's why they're there, because it's outside of the United States. That is the number 1 merchandising market for the NFL. Mission accomplished. Number three is this was not a bad game if you were an Eagles fan. And if you're an Eagles fan, you had to be a little concerned because the social justice warriors out in San Francisco not only managed 10 points against the Eagles, they also harassed the hell out of Carson Wentz. And this will be a little bit of a blueprint, a little bit of a heads up to everybody that plays Philadelphia as to how you get after this offense. Did Niners win? Nah, they didn't. But they did a really good job of disrupting Philadelphia. Next one up is a team that, I'll be honest, I started the season, I was excited about the Raiders and their chances. And there's a lot of people out there that aren't excited about the Raiders right now, and they're turning on them. I'm gonna hold firm here for a little while, but Buffalo dealt with them pretty severely. Not easily, but Buffalo had a long return for a touchdown. I guess you call that a fumble, but it kind of bounced off, deflected, came out of the hand. But Buffalo, good on you. Doing a really nice job. They're undefeated at home. And the Raiders just seem a little bit lost right now. Just a little bit lost.